Welcome to Camp Nightmare Fuel. I'm your host, Barb Hartman. Each week, my co-host Kenny Thibodeau of the Lord Starfox channel and I will bring you true stories of real events, things that are so horrifying and scary they actually fuel our nightmares. Before we delve into the horror of Starvation Heights, I want to say hello to my friend and my co-host, Lord Starfox, also known as Kenny. How are you tonight, Kenny?
Barb, great stuff right there. I'm good. Thanks for sitting down and hanging out with us. Been pretty busy as always. No complaints. Just doing a little bit of extra steps because you know how technology is. If you got the iPhone, they got to make something difficult over on the Droid side.
Right.
And StreamYard, I didn't know you have 3 different options. I downloaded it as MP3. No, iMovie was like, yeah, right, Star Fox. I'm not helping MP3. So I had to go.
Where did you get this?
Yeah, MP3s to MP4s, whatever though. But that's pretty much what
Wow. I also want to say hello to and welcome back our very special guest host, Brian Barber. So welcome, Brian. How are you tonight?
Doing good. It's always fun to be able to come on and talk to the two of you, especially you, Barb. Kenny and I talk, a couple times a week, but you and I very rarely get a chance.
Yeah, and it's always good to catch up. We, as you guys know, we bought this short-term rental out on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State, which is like, oh my gosh, loaded with Sasquatch. I just love this area. It's so like wild and remote and stuff. We have some new appliances and things like that. And man, you talk about. I'm just trying to set the clock on our range, on our range oven. I would actually ask ChatGPT how to do it because even the stupid man doesn't even tell you.
To program my VCR.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh no!
It's crazy, and it's like just anyway. It's so funny, and every single thing. Everything you do now, they want you to set up an account, right?
Yes.
And then give your email. Like, oh, great, here goes another 1,000 emails that I'm not going to read.
Right? I'm trying to set my oven up. Why do I want your email, dude? Like, is this real life?
Right. Yeah, I had to download an app to set it up to begin with, but then it's trying to make me do other things, and I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing any of this stuff. I'm just going to press the button.
Yeah, you feel the pain too. That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
The Christmas trees. It already takes me forever to do art and edit, but let's just add some more time to the good old oven.
Yeah.
Oven or R2D2.
I'll have to let you guys know. I hope it doesn't put us in there and cook us. Like Hansel and Gretel, like, what's that? Something's calling me from the oven.
Your email is probably going to send some subliminal messages too.
Probably.
Give you a shout out. The turkey needs another 5 minutes, Barb.
Open the door and peek in and see. It's not our. It's actually already died, so it wasn't that smart. A smart refrigerator, but like I said, already is passed on. So 4 years later, right after, of course, the manufacturer's warranty expires, it dies.
It had mental issues and just decided to unplug itself.
Yeah.
I used to date some girl that had a refrigerator with a TV. Yeah, I don't understand this because you have a TV in your living room and a TV in your bedroom. Why do you need a TV on your refrigerator? What the hell?
Yep, that's what this one had. It was on sale. It had a bunch of, which I thought were fun features. No, they were just extraneous, like more things to break.
Yep. Hashtag first world problem.
My son was like, you better watch, like, how smart is this thing? It's gonna eat you instead of you getting stuff out of it. For you to eat, you're gonna be its food.
You say that honestly, because I've met some human beings where you wonder how Darwinism hasn't taken play already, right? And I definitely know my phone, including my squirrel as well, is much smarter than a lot of them. So I could honestly see how I guess somebody could be outsmarted by that. I mean, I'll give you a quick example. This game that was out, Pokemon Go, right? People in real life had to go try to find Pokemon in an area. Okay, so the Pokemon's not real, but the area is real. Well, people were walking off cliffs and walking out into traffic and smoked by cars because they were legit trying to find a Pokemon. So they were outsmarted by a Pokemon in a fake world.
Yep. Yep.
These trees. Maybe there's $1,000,000 up on the ledge. I mean, sure to catch a Pokemon. Oh, yeah.
Sometimes forgotten places whisper their secrets, and sometimes those whispers turn into screams. The memories of the places are so filled with horrific energy that it's too strong to stay silenced. Tonight, I'm going to bring you guys to my neck of the woods in Washington State. I'm also very blessed to have investigation footage of the location from my good friends over at the Ghost Riders. The Ghost Riders is a Washington State-based paranormal investigation team made up of a great group of guys. We have Derek, Alex, Wes, and Brandon. That's the team. They've been to some super haunted places all over the country, including the Conjuring House. Post-production to their YouTube channel here, and I'm going to be showing that video to us later in this episode. Those guys went out. It's funny because with the research that I did, when they were actually out there, they found out it's all over the internet. It isn't, as we know, right? We're finding more and more. It's not actually true. They had the number of victims up. Yeah, I'll get into that, but the number that they have is so low. It's horrible. It's like a bunch of people that have just been forgotten about. All of us, we're kind of right. We're all three of us. We're into wellness, taking care of our bodies, our minds. It may include intermittent fasting. Have either of you tried that? Have you tried that, Brian?
No, I like my food too much.
Okay. What about you, Star Fox?
I am actually doing that at the moment, really not necessarily by choice yet. I have my birthday coming up, and I'll be able to snack some food right then. But at the moment, I'm not really eating the most. I mean, I'm still eating healthy when I get a chance to. I honestly eat in a way people should try it out there. I always stand up when I eat, meaning you're not really supposed to sit down, because when you're sitting down, you're crunching your intestinal aspects together. And when you think of what humans are supposed to be, we're hunter and gatherers, meaning you'd be walking around, picking up, eating here, eating a little bit more here, storing some later to bring back to your family or your group. And you would probably sit down a little bit, or maybe lay down at the end of the night and such, meaning that's what I try to do. Is I stand up and I eat, because you're already starting to process the food much quicker and your intestine is outstretched. Mm-hmm. So and I also
makes sense.
Drink kombuchas, as well as I take a shot of apple cider vinegar a day if I haven't had kombuchas and stuff. So I definitely understand how that all works. It is good because humans, we're not meant to be eating as much as we do, honestly, in the world that nature set up for us. You should, as a human, always have that constant feeling of a little bit of hunger in your stomach. You should never be full, because that wouldn't be realistic. We've only been able to do that now because we figured out how to hoard things.
And there is definitely some health benefits to it. So what happened is that in this story, something that definitely has some proven health benefits. It is proven, that you should not eat as much as you think. You should always have a little edge of hunger. But if you take this to extremes, what happens? You stop living. And this is kind of the crux of this story. Imagine being led in desperation to a healing retreat, which is really like, it's your very last hope for restored health. This was what many were led to in a treatment center, a sanitarium, Wilderness Heights. This sanitarium was in a misty pine and fir forest where the mountains meet the salt water of the Puget Sound in Olalla, Washington State. It's about 25 miles southwest from Seattle, as the crow flies. It is really a breathtakingly beautiful area, and it really does have almost a magical quality. It is not hard to understand how a woman who has come to be known as one of the most disturbing figures in early 20th century medicine was able to draw her patients there for treatment. Many of her patients actually lost their lives, and their bodies remain buried in the cemetery on site in the area that is now known as Starvation Heights. So this woman referred to herself as doctor.
She was born Linda Laura Burfield in 1867 in Carver, Minnesota, here in the United States. She eventually married Samuel Hazzard. She also gained the infamous title of being Washington State's first serial killer.
But she did not take her victims' lives in methods that, serial killers usually do, by weapons or force. No, but she took their lives with extreme and dangerous, quote, wellness treatments, end quote, which resulted in the unaliving of at least 15 people. But now many people claim that this number is way too small. In fact, when my friends at the Ghost Riders investigated the cemetery, they actually found victims of 24 victims and their graves, kind of verified that with the records. Those guys said that what the locals say is that there was actually 200 victims.
Locals talk about skeletal people wandering in the woods and trying to search for anything to eat. So I find it really disturbing with 15 victims listed, but there were more like 200.
She actually never attended medical school. She had a small amount of training as an osteopathic nurse, and she was able to earn her title through a loophole in Washington state law, which allowed practitioners at the time, of alternative medicine to hold medical licenses. She published a book called Fasting for the Cure of Disease, and she opened a wellness sanitarium, offering what she claimed was revolutionary treatment, the science of fasting. Her sick philosophy declared that all diseases could be cured by fasting, whether the patient suffered from headaches, infections, or even cancer. But in practice, she was literally just starving them. After the fact, that she's just a quack. This quack doctor promoted her very vague theories using terminology such as impaired digestion, which she claimed would cause one's blood to become impure. And then that is when all of these other diseases would come into play. Hazzard claimed to have been a student of another proponent of fasting for health, Dr. Edward Hooker. However, Dr. Hooker took a much more sensible method whereby patients skipped breakfast and then they ate 2 small meals. That sounds reasonable. Hazzard took a much more extreme approach. Her patients, most of them women, often wealthy and very vulnerable, were fed a meager diet. They had just a few teaspoons of tomato or asparagus broth a couple times a day, no solid food. Many also underwent brutal daily enemas, which lasted for hours and where at least 12 quarts of water was flushed through the patient's colon. Possibly one of the worst facets of her treatment was what she called daily massages, designed to release toxins. Her method is certainly not anything I would equate to a healing massage. Patients were subjected to beatings from Hazzard on their back and their foreheads while she shouted, "Eliminate, eliminate." Some were too weak to speak within just weeks. Some never walked again. Among the first known victims was Daisy Maud Haglund, a Norwegian-born woman and the mother of a young son.
3-year-old Ivor, who would later go on to open a successful Seattle-based chain of restaurants in his name. In 1908, Daisy died after just 50 days under Hazzard's care. Another suspicious case was the case of Ivan Plotz, who was a wealthy Englishman who had come to the United States with the intention of purchasing a large ranch. This gentleman was found to have
passed away after fasting for 53 days straight. He had passed with only $70 worth of personal property. Then came the case that shattered the illusion of wellness, Claire and Dorothea Williamson. These 2 wealthy British sisters were drawn to Hazzard's theories while traveling in the Pacific Northwest.
They were the orphan daughters of a very influential and well-known English officer. Because her treatment center was merely a decaying cabin in the woods, in 1911, when the sisters arrived, Hazzard put them up in a Seattle hotel. By the time the 2 sisters were transferred to Olalla for continued treatment, they both weighed just 70 pounds. The sisters were completely isolated from the outside world as their brutal treatments of daily enemas and meager diet of a few sips of vegetable broth continued daily. In 1911, one of the girls' uncles, Portland-based John Herbert, came to rescue the girls after one was found to have passed away and the other was 50 pounds.
Hazzard even made Mr. Herbert pay her $1,000 in additional treatment funds in order to be able to discharge Dorothea to his care.
The family friend had found that Claire unfortunately had passed away, and there seemed to be another body in her place.
Discovered that Hazzard had actually forged Claire's will, leaving much of Claire's fortune to Hazzard herself. Authorities also found that she had taken possession of Claire's jewelry, her clothes, and even her gold dental fillings. Mr. John Herbert, the uncle of Dorothy and Claire, soon got his revenge on Hazzard, however, by taking her to court for the death of Claire. So this led to even further investigations, which revealed that Hazzard's patients weren't just being starved, they were being systematically stripped of their wealth. Now, before we go further, set aside like even the morality issue, okay? We know this is wrong and it's terrible. How do people begin to manipulate someone that she should not have been able to? What do you think about that, Lord Starfox? How did this woman, look, let's say, so these women show up looking for a wellness treatment. They weren't even sick, okay? They just show up. They're spiritual. They want to get in touch with nature, whatever. Who knows what she said? How did they get from that to now she's starving us and we're letting her? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a whole lot of pretty gnarly stuff right there for sure, eh?
Yeah.
You can go without food for 30 days and without water for a week, correct?
Yes, and I think it depends on the condition. Your condition, the body pass away faster, without fluids.
If I'm wrong, too, that's what Stockholm Syndrome is as well. When you spend so much time with somebody, even if they are your captor, you eventually become in love with them in some instances, or they are your friends. Also, want to become better, and you also are potentially passing from illnesses and all these things. You are going to be, unfortunately, easier coerced.
Right.
You have probably already worn thin your other mainstream options. So unfortunately, you're more vulnerable to being manipulated. Also, the reason I say this is I don't have any association with these channels, yet they give you great examples, and they cover police cam footage of officers going firsthand, doing the interviews after with individuals. Dr. Insanity is actually one of them. And the things that he shows of just how insane some people are and how they're able to hoax people and also make people believe in things and then just lie through their teeth until they're caught. Like, long story short, one woman it was insane. This guy got money, or he thought he was getting money, from one of those fake emails that tells you, hey, your family member passed from like Transylvania or something, and unfortunately the guy bought into it. Then they were told it was going to be more because the property was sold off, but yet every time this dude went to go meet the so-called lawyer that was supposed to sign the paperwork, he never showed up. Well, this woman ended up feeding him antifreeze inside of his Mountain Dew and also his iced tea because he couldn't have tasted it. And that's one thing people can look up. It's unfortunate. Be very careful with your animals and things, because antifreeze has something in it that tastes like sugar, which is why people and also animals don't pick up on it. Yet when they did the toxicology report, that was the first thing that popped up, because that's what the neighbor said, because she had made jokes about it before. Long story short is this woman literally put on a whole stage of fake crying, trying to manipulate the cops and all of this. Yet at the end of the whole entire thing, she unalived her fiance for money that didn't even exist. So I would like to say I'm surprised by what you just said, but I'm really, unfortunately, not, because it's just a wheel that happens over and over again. And when you talked about the numbers being downplayed, that reminds me a lot of World War II, meaning potentially with the concentration camps, with like the SS and stuff.
Absolutely.
Those numbers we saw were super alarming, yet there's no way those are accurate.
That's right. That's right. What do you think about that, Brian? What are your thoughts on how, I'm thinking, okay, we have this pattern of wealthy people that may or may not be sick. Let's just say, a few of them, a small percentage may have been very sick and this was the last resort. But we also have this man, Mr. Flux, and then these two women from England, and they're all very well to do. So, affluent people, and they go, and then you stay and you get starved and et cetera, and all your wealth is removed. Do you have any thoughts on?
I think part of it is in the details, and you got to look at the time frame, at the state of the world we were in at the time, because women's rights movements were only 40 or 50 years going in, so they weren't really that prevalent. So as far as the women go, if you had somebody, because I believe if I remember right, reading about her, she had a pretty loud voice and interest in theology and spiritualism and things like that. So maybe by the time you get to the point of starting to question that you've been without food for a couple weeks, which, once I start getting hangry after 5 or 6 hours, I'm not thinking right. So imagine days and days.
That's right.
You're getting dehydrated from all the enemas they were giving them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's insane.
So you're, to me, she literally suckered them in, and then got them to the point where they just couldn't think straight.
Right. Yeah.
They're totally brain fried. Dr. Hazzard and Dr. Hooker. I mean, there are so many red flags here.
Something, with the names. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's truth too. I mean, I do trigger point massage. I'm certified in it. There's truth to toxins being released, but getting the living crap kicked out of you.
Yeah.
Again, I've got to look back at where was the science and where was intelligence in, what was it, 1911 or 12?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was 1911 is when the bulk. Yeah, I'm sure this went over.
Let's fast forward to 1940s where you had a certain man in Germany with a comb under his nose. Look how many people he influenced. So
yeah.
Or you've got people like Dorothy Puentes, same person who did the same type of thing, but stole the people's Social Security checks.
Oh,
she was a serial unaliver in California.
Yes.
I was going to say it's not unheard of. I mean, Elaine's bedbound, but I'll tell you what, I hop when she says hop.
That's just brilliant by both of you. It's such a bizarre case, and I just wanted to make a couple notes here, and if I'm incorrect, please correct me. It seems to be right around this time as well that they used to do something where let's shove a very large instrument into your nasal cavity, and this is going to fix an issue, right? As contradicting as the statement's going to be, it's literally factual. Medicine and science is amazing, yet there had to be dark things, unfortunately, for them to figure out what we know now, I guess. It's such a catch-22 because how do you, I guess, learn about, per se, the inside of humans? Yeah, you probably could do it from deceased people, and you got the other insane people that decided to do it to live people. So yes, there's obviously moral ways to do it, but still, in some people's eyes, even if it's a corpse, when you open it up, that could be considered morbid, yet that's how you learn about how the ventricular vein connects here. And now if somebody's in an emergency and they're bleeding out, that's how we have the knowledge to fix it and stuff. So it's such a thin line to walk, because how do you learn about those things without, I guess, doing some sort of, what are we going to use the word, experiments or testing? It's horrific. Like you said, when you hear these examples, or the submerging of people in ice cold water for long periods of time and was supposed to cure insanity, etc.
Right.
I don't even have an answer for anyone out there how I guess any of this could ever have been done in moral ways. I really don't know, but it's
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
You know, and even if you're being, if the medical practitioners, they're just trying to figure it out. But she was obviously, so, you know, let's say aside from in that trying to lead people into a medical treatment that rid themselves of these ailments, but you know, it was the fact that she just seemed like she was trying to unalive people, and so in a way that she could sign over their will, you know, their estates, all of their riches to her.
So
It's awful.
The road to hell was paved with good intentions, meaning
yes. Well,
like, you know, like the aspect of fasting and such, right? I mean, that's a real science that actually does exist and is helpful. So who really knows, I guess, unless we were able to dive more into her background before then. Yet, this is just my opinion. I feel like it's probably pretty hard to just make a drastic 360 turn in your personality like that. She must have had dark things inside of her long before she became a doctor. I think once she got that control, then she allowed those parts of her personality to come out. I don't know, but it seems from when I watch mental health things and psychology, when I speak to people that actually have degrees in that, there's telltale signs in almost every person that does some sort of crazy thing. Of course, you have some that just snap, right? Okay. But there's always some sort of cookie crumbs leading in the past, meaning if someone becomes like a serial unaliver, you can look back in the past where they were cruel to animals, or just there's certain things, telltale signs that people, when they end up finally going across the limit, you're like, what the heck? And then you see these profilers after put together everything. You're like, yep. I mean, there's all these signs that people just ignored. So again, if we were able to see her psychological background before or learn about her family life, that would definitely be interesting. But again, I think she must have been pretty frigged up from the get-go.
And you know, it's funny. It's not funny. It's ironic that I think that Brian, you had mentioned as far as, you know, the women's rights movement and just the way that they were treated in society. Linda Hazzard actually used that as a defense by making claims of sexism in the authorities' handling of the matter. So, you know, after she's arrested and tried and convicted of manslaughter, with her, you know, big mouth, like you said, she's just making these claims. So, you know, she's calling attention, and people are unfortunately, they're paying attention to her like, oh, poor Dr. Hazzard. You know, she's a victim of sexism, which, you know, like I as a woman, I'm like, that really annoys me. Like, don't use that. You know, but whatever. Obviously, she and I would never have been able to see eye to eye.
No, and that's the madness on her part, because in 1911, let's face it, women were marginalized.
Yeah,
you know, you had your trophy wives, you know, like the Titanic, you had your upper, your middle, your lower.
Yeah.
So most women would consider themselves as, we'll just say, obedient.
Right.
And if you got a dominating personality tell you, drink this.
Yes.
You know, and
true. That's true.
You know, and who knows how maybe the original one started as an accident, but then she figured out a way to make money, and then that's where the evil took over.
Yes, like I said, arrested, tried, and convicted of manslaughter. Just in Claire's death, but she only served 2 years behind bars. She appeared to once again escape justice after she received a full pardon by the governor of Washington State in 1916. He had been prompted by her popularity, like as I was saying, with a group of influential people from New Zealand. A signed petition of 121 signatures of people demanding her release. The governor acquiesced to their demands with the stipulation that Linda Hazzard and her husband leave the United States upon her release, and that they relocate to the small island nation. So Hazzard and her husband moved to New Zealand, where they continued to operate a practice, and she released another book. But this is not where the story ends. Her time in the Southern Hemisphere was quite lucrative, and she was able to return to Washington State just 4 years later. And guess where she went?
Right back to Olalla, Washington, where this time she was able to build her dream medical treatment facility.
Hazzard continued to practice, but karma finally caught up to her in 1935 when her dream retreat burned to the ground in a devastating fire. Hazzard herself soon began suffering from health issues and embarked on the torturous diet and treatment regimen that she had promoted. In a fitting twist of fate, she ended up succumbing to starvation in 1938 during one of her own so-called mandated fasts. Now, as I stated, it's believed that Linda Hazzard was responsible officially for 15 deaths, but likely many more succumbed to her hideous treatment methods. Some names have been lost to time. Others, like Elgin Cox, Ida Wilcox, Maud Whitney, appear in death records with haunting consistency. Extreme emaciation, organ failure, malnutrition. The property became known as Starvation Heights. Now today, the land where the sanitarium stood, it's overgrown and it's quiet. All of the original buildings are gone,
Except for the building's foundation and a 70-foot concrete tower. I'm told the current owners are very concerned with their privacy and with them, and they will not hesitate at all to prosecute any trespassers.
Ghost hunters claim to hear phantom footsteps on the old trails. Some report electronic interference, cold spots, or sudden nausea. Visitors speak of overwhelming sadness or the feeling of being watched by eyes that are no longer there to see. Are these spirits of the lost, or just the terrible weight of a terrible history that refuses to be forgotten? When the local paranormal team, the Ghost Riders, they recently did a full investigation in the cemetery that was the final resting place, like I had said, of many of her victims. They were able to get some solid evidence. So let's watch a portion of that video now.
The graves.
Return from the depths.
I am death.
Derek, I literally just said that.
We made the noises.
No freaking way.
You heard that?
I swear I heard that.
No way. No way. Dude, that's insane. Look.
What's up, guys? Ghost Riders here. We are in Olalla, Washington, and the Olalla Cemetery grave. This is based off of the story called Starvation Heights, where there was a story where Elizabeth Hazzard pretended to be a doctor to help people cleanse themselves, but really she starved them and eventually killed them. And this is the graves that are from the victims of that. So she's basically a murderer.
Yeah, the first set of victims, right? So the first set of victims that she had here in Olalla, she killed 24 of them, and they're all buried here, right? She does have more victims that she had. So after there was word that she was going around killing these people by starving them, that's why they call it Starvation Heights Cemetery. There was other victims, and it was roughly around 200 of them, but when she was tried for it, she actually was found not guilty for it, and she had moved over to
New Zealand.
Yeah, it was New Zealand, where she
We're
practiced
already
more.
getting activity.
Yeah, we're already getting activity here, but she moved to New Zealand, and then after 20 years, she came back, and then she built Starvation Heights Sanitarium, where she kissed, or did you just kiss that?
Where she kissed people.
Yeah.
No.
So she killed 200 more people, and those people are buried somewhere else. But we're here with the original 24 victims that she had, and we're hoping to talk to them tonight. So
Talk to them, get their story.
Yep.
We respect everybody here. We're just here to get your guys' story, not disrespect or anything. And we got to be careful because there has been seances here, rituals in
Ouija
the past,
boards and stuff.
Ouija boards. So
people are leaving a lot of trash around here too, disrespecting the marked graves and all that, and the unmarked graves, and
that's a no-no.
Yeah, and so we're just here to get their stories and kind of find stuff out. And again, like Alex said, we're already finding out, or we're actually getting more activity right now. So we're hoping to get more activity as this video progresses.
We'll do some Estes method. We'll do a EVP, and we'll see what we can find. Stay tuned, guys.
Stay tuned.
This will be a good one.
Yep.
1867, July 10th, 1902. What?
Did you hear that?
What did it say?
The graves.
No freaking way.
It said the graves.
It said the graves?
Yeah.
Is that you touching that REM pod?
Try not to flash the light like directly at it.
Okay. So you can see the light.
Yeah.
The light. It's ancient.
The light is ancient.
I literally just said that.
The light is ancient. Maybe they were talking about the graves that was destroyed, like this one right here.
I am death.
I am what?
Death.
Death?
I am death.
Not good, boys.
The land.
The land.
Yeah. What about the land? Is it cursed?
We invoke the term.
Ah.
Dress.
Dress.
I was sick.
What? I was sick.
I was sick.
That's what Elizabeth's tried because they were sick people.
Yeah. Did you go to Elizabeth because you were sick?
And she tried to heal them, but really, she wasn't. I keep seeing, I swear, I see a freaking shadow figure moving over there. And that REM pod goes off. Our souls are protected by the name of Jesus. You cannot claim these souls, only Jesus.
Dark entity here.
What?
Dark entity here.
Remember what you were saying earlier?
Yeah. Oh, I know there is.
Show yourself.
Gravestone.
Gravestone?
Gravestone.
Can you help?
You help.
We can certainly try to help. What do you need help with?
What?
We make the noises.
No freaking way.
You heard that?
I swear I heard that. Was that you that made that noise?
Sounded like a scream.
It did.
Wow, pretty great, right, guys? I mean, now, Kenny, Star Fox, what do you think about that? Because I know that you've never had any sort of paranormal experiences, so it's not, you just really can't.
Will sway my opinion about anything if the same brilliant minds that have helped me form the opinions I have now on topics were able to then show me other reasonings to switch up why I feel the reasonings about something for sure. It's one of those things that I don't know enough about it, but when you see the videos like you sent and you watch other programs that talk about extraterrestrial communication, whether it's coming from outer space or coming from demons per se, also very interesting stuff. I don't know enough about, again, the paranormal, if you can kind of hoax those communications or those radio frequencies, meaning when you're doing editing such as potential paranormal stuff. I don't know if AI can just create that. That's a very interesting topic for sure.
Like the integrity and the methods, of the investigator. And, yeah, and these guys are just like the purest. They're just great guys. And they were really affected by what they were hearing. Brian, what do you think about this?
It makes me wonder if she had heard about something similar in order to come up with this plan of suckering people in and then getting to the point where they're signing off their money, because we've seen it repeated, like I mentioned, the Dorothy Puentes,
right,
where she brought them in, got their social security checks, and then kept on cashing them even after that she buried them in with the daisies. So, and they're still finding, individuals on that property. So,
wow.
Did she hear about it somewhere, or was it just something? I mean, it has to be dark to begin with in order to,
yes,
like Barb said, I'm sure that number is way understated because they've written so many off to natural causes.
Right.
Well, the treatment didn't work, so it was, stomach cancer, or,
yes,
it wasn't the fact that she blew out their colon with 12 gallons of water or whatever.
Right.
I'm sorry for laughing.
Right. I know. That's
Just the way Brian said.
I know. But yeah, that's right. I'm thinking like how? Oh my gosh. I cannot imagine. Yeah, I can't imagine
How do you even
dealing
think
with that
that
every
up?
day.
That's just
I know. Well, that's right. Yeah.
what I mean about people just being insane. I mean, as you stated that right there, it's again a dark example. There was a king that was unalived by them deciding to put a burning rod up his butt. Okay. I mean,
yeah.
same thing. I don't know about all this. I am not a person to ever make opinions on this or be the one that should be stating this. I don't know. Sure, if someone has been decided by a group of people that they are no longer an asset to society, that they are basically the plague, whatever, you got to do, if that's what you got to do, but there has to be some sort of humanity aspect. Like, who the frig came up with the idea of let's stick a burning rod on this guy? Like, couldn't we have done something? I don't even know.
I agree with that.
What the heck?
Yeah. But if you're retaliating for what he may have done, but if this is like just the punishment that you came up with, what in the heck? Right?
Yeah, and if you continuously look at ways people are unalive, though, it's sick. I mean, look at the Romans.
Yes.
They would feed you so much milk that you basically were going to explode. They would pour honey all over you, and they would tie you up and leave you in the ground so that the insects and rats and stuff would just come and eat you.
I just
Brutal.
can't. Yeah. Yes.
Like, why? But again, it just time and time again, it doesn't matter what culture you're in, it doesn't matter what time frame you're in. I mean, you would like to think in this day and age, it would not be as insane like that, but you still unfortunately see the insanity like that. But then in history, again, time and time, you're like, what the heck?
It makes you... Sorry, but it makes we're supposed to be the superior species, yet we have the sanctity of life. And then we're sticking hot pokers up people's butts.
That's right. Yeah. Right.
Cheers.
Like the supposedly intelligent, but we're the sickest.
There it is. Yes. The absolute disturbingness. The only thing that can come even close to that is they've documented in chimpanzees legit going out of their way to just brutalize other chimpanzees, meaning ripping out their eyes, their face, their fingers, their genitals. And there's a whole documentary called The Dark Side of Chimps. Besides that, though, I don't even know if that is even as close to as messed up as the things we just, talked about. I mean, there's still a reasoning why those chimps are doing that, for territory, for survival aspects, for passing on their genes. So whether or not it's absolutely crazy as heck that they would do that to basically another chimp that is like them, yeah, that's not even close to still as sadistic, there we go, as the things we talked about, It's like, what the heck?
Right. Yes. And I think, to an extent, this sort of thing is still unfortunately going on, and within the medical community and with treatments. So, Brian, what do you, do you have any final thoughts on this, Brian?
See, you're right on it continuing, because, I mean, there's certain things that have been in recent events where people were forced into groups and, unfortunately perished during some worldwide events. So it does still continue. And it's sad that in some cases that people are so blind that it's actually acceptable. Yep.
Yes.
Depending where you are.
That's
So-
it. Oh yeah. And you
It's
are the,
about themselves.
if, how dare you, how dare you think that this was not for the greater good? But yeah, it's it's very disturbing. So before we conclude this episode of Camp Nightmare Fuel, I just want to leave you with this. I feel like if you as the listeners, if this story unsettled you, good, it should, because some places deserve to haunt us for our lack of action on the part of innocent victims. So if you've enjoyed our show, please give it a like, comment, subscribe, and share with the curious souls in your life. If you haven't already, please turn on those notifications so you won't ever miss a single episode of Camp Nightmare Fuel. I'm going to add Lord Starfox and Brian Barber's links down in the comments. So please subscribe and follow them as well.